Happy Friday, everybody. Josh here with On the Wrong Lead. Another episode of You Gotta Be Sha Tinning Me. Joined, as always, Mr. Matt Carlson at Slow and Steadied. Matt, how you doing, buddy?
Doing okay. You know, we had an okay day today playing some Oaklawn, which I was typically horrific at. Missed the cross country by a Dylan Davis horrific ride, so that cost me a good 40 grand. So, you know, we're in an okay headspace though. It's doing okay.
Dude, there was so remember when Naira had that like year where they went to a 20-cent jackpot pick six?
I do.
There was a force out at Aqueduct that ended up paying, I want to say like 120, 150K or something. It was some insane amount. And I fucking had the 40-1 horse in it. And the horse that I didn't have was like this 8-1 horse. So I ended up going 5 out of 6 in it. And the horse I didn't have is this like 8-1 horse that literally everybody else I knew had, but I didn't. And it sent me into a level of tilt for about 3 weeks that I have never seen. I really explored the darkest and deepest caverns of tilt after that, because it was just like, I don't know, like I at that point I was still chasing like, you know, a big score. I mean, let's be honest, if you hit for fucking 6 figures, like like that's probably for most of us once in a, you know, 3 lifetimes. But yeah, that just sent me to the freaking moon, dude. I didn't recover for months after that. So, you know, not that I mean, I'm sure that's the kind of thing you want to hear after, you know, being a bad ride away, a good ride away from 40K. But, yeah, like those are tough, man. Like, especially when you get the price. And if I remember correctly, you had like a 14-1 single in there, didn't
I
you?
singled the 14-1 at Oaklawn. I was too wide in the last to 15-1, and I tossed the 9-2, the Matthew DeSantis long shot special of 9-2 today. Shout out Naira Betts. And instead I singled Dylan at the 2-1. So my $18 ticket was one off,
And Matthew DeSantis gave it out?
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Well, the horse was sitting at, it was a co-favorite, and I'm like, I can't take both favorites, you know, because I've been playing so bad at Oaklawn, and like Aqueduct, right? So like I think I went all in the second leg that actually chalked out. So even if that didn't chalk out, then, you know, I probably would have gotten a 4 out of 5 even, but instead, so be it, right? I mean, you know, you've played this game a long time when you're just like, yeah, whatever.
Well, fine. Yeah, and like that's the thing, right? Like that was pretty. That had to have been 3 years ago. So I was probably only playing a horse like 2 years. So like I hadn't seen all the shit that I had seen yet. Like, yeah, I think what also didn't help, because I want to say that was the year after maximum security. So like that was really like the max security year is the year I really felt like I started seeing the ball pretty good horse racing. So that was probably I think that was about 2 years into me playing the horses. Or was it the year after? Was it the second year I played? Yeah, maybe the second year. I forget the years. They all fucking come together at some point. But so that maximum security one hurt because obviously, you know, I felt like you know, someone took money out of my hands. But you know, my wife was right there to tell me, you never won that money. I was like, yeah. It's hard to look at it that way, right? You know, my wife. Sometimes I refer to her as my Dutch wife because she is Dutch, but she's very, you know, to the point, very practical. She's like, you never had the money. And I was like, I hate when you say stuff like that when I'm. But you know,
first time I told my wife I was alive to a 5-figure score, and I've never had a 5-figure score, so you know, my lifetime score is still relatively small.
Yeah.
But the first time I was watching, I was single to a horse at Saratoga, and the horse I wanted to take, actually, I was listening to one of Mark's podcasts, you know, good old Pack, who said this horse has no chance, doesn't want the slop. It was like a, you know, wet day or something like that. And I told my wife, I go, I'm single to this horse and I'm live to, you know, 17K, something like that. She goes, well, Just remember, you suck at this game. So, sure enough, the horse I would have taken, but tossed, ends up coming in. I think it paid 11K or something like that. She goes, "See, you suck."
Oh man.
Thanks. She
Yeah.
knows.
So I think it's Saratoga. So I literally land, and Mark picks me up, right? And so he picks me up, and we go to Saratoga. Or no, that was a different time. I went to the hotel first, and then he picked me up from the hotel the next morning. And so he picks me up, and we go. And of course, this is Saratoga in a nutshell, right? So we go, and he's like, this was a couple years ago. Ticket situation has changed since, but he's like, hey, yeah, get the club, pay the $2 or $3 extra for the clubhouse access, just so in case it rains, like we can go into the clubhouse and whatever. And so we go into the clubhouse because it starts fucking raining because it's Saratoga, and we're sitting there, and I'm just like, I'm playing. I play a lot. I was playing a lot less then, so I'm like firing pick threes, and we go, and there's a photo finish, and Mark, God bless him, he's like, "Oh, you definitely got that. You definitely got that." Well, they ended up dead heating it, and I'm like, "Okay, it could have been worse." But I ended up like, it was like I don't know, like a $24 pick three. I played. And I think I ended up paying like $40 or something with that heat. So like I got a little bit of money back. Like it could have been worse, but whatever. But Mark has just like, he's nice to me, and just like rooted my horse and high fived me way too early, too many times, to like I'm like now, like I'm like holding on to the freaking my horse is opening up by 8 lengths down the stretch, and I'm just like holding on for dear life. And so the next time we went to, I think it was the next time I went to Saratoga, I'm with Capone and Ed EC, and we're just shooting the shit, and I'm live. I had singled this one horse in the last leg at Saratoga, and the horses get to the top of the stretch, and Cap comes over, man. He's giving me a high five. He's like, "Great handicap," and all this stuff. And I'm just like, I don't want to shake your hand right now. Like I just know, like let this horse cross the wire. He's like, dude. He's like, he's not gonna lose from here. You know how Cap is. He's like, he's not. They're not gonna lose from here. What are you talking about? And no, sure enough, he wins. But I was just like, I was like holding on for dear life. Just like this horse is like winning by like 7 lengths. Like. And it's just like, I don't know, too many bad stories.
It ain't over till it's over. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Till you see him cross the wire, till it's official, right? You never know.
Yeah, which was funny because the first real big score I had was on Mother's Day a couple of years ago, and we are going to pick my mom up and take her out to dinner, or I think we picked up dinner. Yeah, I think we like picked up like PF Chang's or something. I don't remember. It was something weird, but we're driving, and I think like 3 legs go down, and the fourth one starts. The fourth one starts as I'm like getting into the car, starting to drive, and I get past the fourth leg, and we're driving, and I tell my wife, I'm like, look, I need you to watch this race, and I'm like, I think I needed the 4 or 8 horse in this race. I'm like, I need the 4. I need the 4 or 8. And I'm like, just let me know what's going on. Like, and so I'm driving, and she's watching the race. She's like, yeah, that 8's ahead by a lot. She's like, yeah, like it's the only horse you see on the screen. And I was like, what? And I'm like, it's a race. And she's like, yeah, the race is over. She's like, it was literally the only horse you saw on the screen the entire time in the stretch. I was like, oh, okay, that wasn't a sweat. And I think that was a 12K pick 5 at Belmont. And it was funny because I always told my wife, if I ever hit for 5 figures, that I would buy her a designer purse of her choice, and so that thing hits, and I'm just like so pumped, and then like also kind of relieved a little bit, because I'm like, I do a horse racing podcast, so like you would hope occasionally I would hit for some decent money. I would like at least have some type of expertise here, and so
Mm-hmm.
so like there was just like a bunch of relief and stuff like that with it. And uh, once once that's like kind of over, I tell my wife, I'm like, yeah, you just won yourself a purse. She had completely forgotten, just completely forgotten, and so it was funny because like I have some coworkers who are young, or like not that much younger, but they're a couple years younger than me, and they're women, and they always like to be they always like to, because like I'm the only male on my team, so they'll always be like, oh, you got to take your wife to like when we go to Vegas. Oh, you got to take her to YSL. You got to take her to Fendi. You got to buy her something from one of those expensive designer stores. And so I told her, I was like, oh yeah, I was like, you can pick pick whatever. She's like, well, what's my budget? And I was like, oh, I didn't think about this. I was like, I don't know, $1,500. She's like, I can work with that. And so like it was funny because those were her exact words. And so I told my coworkers the story, but I didn't tell her what my wife said. And their response was literally, "Oh yeah, she can work with that." I was like, oh well,
So after that ticket got taxed, and after your wife took her purse, you walked away with
like
maybe
7,500.
yeah, that's not that bad.
No, it wasn't. Honestly, what really screwed me was the tax man because, everyone I talked to was like, oh yeah, you just kind of you deduct the winnings and you get that. Well, first of all, I had to go ahead and fucking hit for another another 5-figure score later that year, which just completely like obliterated my taxes. And but they didn't withhold on that one. They only withheld on the first one. So, but I was like, okay, like I mean, I did profit that year. I mean, you would hope with 2 5-figure scores that I ended up in the profit, but yeah, like I didn't get any of what they held back. I actually
Really?
owed that year. Yeah, I actually owed that year. So and like part of it I think was like my withholding at work and stuff like that. But like, yeah, that was a tough year. I think we owed like a couple grand, so that was like not great. Whereas this year we got like a couple grand back. So yeah, it was just I don't know. I gave the forms that I had. I gave the win loss statements, and I don't know. H&R Block decided that I still owed a bunch of money, but I don't
Gotta
know.
still
I'm
do what
not.
I do. Just perennially lose. You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah,
So
yeah. That's. I mean, if only. Yeah, just never win. Then you don't have to worry about
that's a
taxes.
secret. That's a secret. You don't have to pay
It's
taxes.
so
Government can't
Chase
get what you lose.
always says takeout doesn't matter. He's like takeout doesn't matter. It's like you either win or you lose. Takeout doesn't matter. I'm like, okay.
Sure.
I guess that's one way to look at it. But yeah, I had 2 lovely beers this evening. I split with my wife. I had this Cafe Deeth, which I believe I sent you one. I think maybe I sent you one of these. I don't know.
Yeah, you'd
The
think you did.
coffee one. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I cracked that one yet though. But
So Cafe Deeth, which is coffee, and then this dark mode, which is an imperial milk stout aged in bourbon barrels from 2021, which is really good. My wife, we were going through, and I think I'm gonna have to catalog what I have at this point because I told my wife, I'm
reach
like,
that
I
stage.
don't know what we have, and at one point she was like, yeah, we got to do something, like we got to drink this stuff, and she had pointed out that there was um like I have like these like 2 like wire racks that are just basically filled with beer. They're not like real big. They're like maybe waist high, so there's maybe like 3 levels worth of beer there. And they're small. They're like from Amazon. They're Amazon Basics or whatever. But everyone always comments it looks like Binny's, which is like the Total Wine here. It's like, yeah, your house looks like Binny's. And then I have my whiskey cart, which has got all my bottles of whiskey out there. But she's like, yeah. She's like, and we got beer over there. And she points to the entertainment center. And underneath the bottom level of the entertainment center, she stuffed a bunch of beer in there, a bunch of barrel aged beer. She's like, and there's some under the whiskey cart. And sure enough, today I had looked. there were 2 additional like 4-packs underneath the whiskey cart. So like we got beer hidden, and then I got just like all the Bourbon County I have is like in the closet, so it's not even out. So it's just a mess. So I'm like, when we have board game nights, I bring some of the stuff to share. It's tough to drink. Well, it's not that it's tough. Like I could drink one can, like one 12-ounce can of it. The 16 ounces they get kind of tough for the bombers. Those like it's like a homework assignment. It's like that's it. That's all I'm drinking tonight, and I don't know if I'm gonna be coherent after it.
Yeah, you're forgetting the rules. You're sleeping there when you're not supposed to.
Yeah,
All
but
that.
like
So
if I bring like 4 or 5 of them, right, and split them among 3 or 4 of us, right, we have a great time, right? You get to try different stuff and everything. But yeah, so my wife and I split these 2. So I've moved to water, which is a nice little Michelob Ultra, because I need to rehydrate here before while we cap this. But yeah, this pick 3 was it was a little interesting. The first 2 races, pace wise, I think are kind of tough puzzles, right? Because I think in the first 2 races, you have they're pretty devoid of speed, and they don't have any horse I think that's led at any point, like in like first or second call, or maybe if they have like it hasn't been in the recent races. So like race 9 here, which is going to start this late pick 3, we're going to be going 7 furlongs, 1,400 meters, class 4 racing. And I mean, I landed on 2 horses here. So the absolute looks like your most likely leader, but I have a hard time trusting this horse coming all the way from the 12 post in this spot. I think he still gets the lead, but I think my question is how much effort is he going to use to get to the lead? Like how wide is he going to have to be to go from that post to get around these other horses? I mean, I think he's going to naturally, right? He's just got more natural speed. I don't think he's going to have to. I don't think Luke Ferraris is going to have to hustle this horse up to get the lead. You know what I mean? I think he's just naturally going to get it. But I just don't think it's going to be as easy. Like it's coming from that far of a post. I don't know just how wide he's going to have to go. So I try to get a little creative here. I was kind of looking at other alternatives, and I ended up on the 11 Travel Golf for Matthew Chadwick here, and I just think that this is a horse that if you kind of scrap the last couple of Sha Tin races, which look pretty bad, those 2 Happy Valley races don't look as bad, right? He was more of a middle price. He wasn't as big of a long shot. But I think what you kind of notice is it seems like he runs a little bit better when he does have that inside post, and he's just got a much better draw, right? The last race he was drawn in the 10 post. The race before that he was drawn in the 14 post, and you kind of look at the running lines. The last 2 races, he was 7.5 and 5 3/4 off at second call. Both those races being stuck that far out wide. But if you look at the races where he was drawn more inside, you're looking at 3 lengths off, 1 1/4 lengths off. So I think he is going to be more involved early than he has the last 2 races with that good draw. So I thought this is a horse with the better draw could definitely improve. And doesn't have a win here yet at Sha Tin. I don't think he's gonna win at all at Hong Kong yet. But I thought he's got. If you kind of go through those further back races, and he's got that better draw. I think that he's a little bit interesting here. But I don't know if the 2 gets the lead, gets it pretty easy. I think he might be pretty tough to beat here. Matt, where did you kind of land?
yeah, I guess just to comment on your 11. I mean, I love it because I love that you're betting an 0 for 21 horse with Matthew Chadwick up. Now, I don't like the horse at all here, but look, if anyone would bet that horse, I think it would be me. So I'm glad that you're doing it and I'm not
Instead
for
of
a
you,
change.
I'm saving you money.
I appreciate that someone's betting it, so I'll know that if something happens, at least someone had it because that's the kind of horse that I would normally bet. that I'm not in this case. I'm with you. This race was tough to me, right? I don't know what's going to happen with the speed, and typically when I don't know what's going to happen, I guess I just kind of throw it out, right? I say, hey, the better jocks are going to try and figure it out, or they're all going to gun for it, right? It's almost not worth trying to figure out if I think the course is going to play fair anyway. I just sort of say, okay, like don't even try to pace handicap it, just cap it as you would on figs, and if something goes sideways, oh well, right? I wouldn't have had it anyway. Um, I guess I'll start with the probably the horse that I think is going to be over bet, but I do think I want to play is the three. I mean, obviously Zach hopping up onto a lightly raced horse, um, and top scorer. I think this horse is probably primed to break through. Obviously, it gets a better draw from last time, right? I think the last race it stuck out in the 12 post, and now it moves back into the 6 post. I think it's horses kind of making that fourth or fifth start in Hong Kong tend to, I think, do pretty well. And, Zach obviously sees fit to stay here. So, it closed really well from that wide draw last time into a course that was kind of playing middling to forward. So, John Size, Zach Burton, I think, what's not to like, right? I do think that horse will probably take a lot of money here. And for that, I tried to look elsewhere, but there's just not a lot in this race that really excites me. So I think that's one place that I will go in my ticket. The other horse that I liked that I think has a legitimate shot if it runs its best race is the 8 Owner's Praise. This horse has been at Happy Valley the last few out. They tried it around 2 turns. I'm not really sure why. It was running really well, I thought, and at Sha Tin running the 1400. Maybe they just wanted to kind of reset the weight here. I think that is a concept of, okay, do something the horse doesn't want to do, because that way, if you look, it was running up at 132. It was kind of towards the top of class 4. Put it in some races where you think it can't really succeed, and then it kind of resets that rating and you get 5 pounds out of it. Now that said, you had Zach up, you had James McDonald up, you had Hugh Bowman up, and now you get Lyle Hewitson. I've talked before, Lyle Hewitson is far from my favorite jock here, but I also have said I'm out of the game of capping jockeys at this point. So Lyle Hewitson is great. They're all great. I love you all. And look, I think the best races are at that 1400. So if it runs its race, I think it can be successful here. I think it can break through, and I think because you get Lyle Hewitson up, you'll get a price on that horse that you wouldn't normally otherwise get. And also, I think, hey, the fact that you had Zach up for that long and you had James McDonald up means connections probably think a lot of this horse. So I do think there's some ability there, for sure. So I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna hope that Lyle Hewitson can do what Zach and James McDonald couldn't, and use that 8 as an A. And those will kind of be my 2 A's, the 3 and the 8. And I guess the other horse I wanted to make as a B was the 9 Sky Trust. Again, I think it's just been a horse that is steadily on the improve. Like I said, horse is kind of making that fourth or fifth start. You do expect to continue to kind of move forward. You've seen it kind of build up in that distance, right? It started at 1,000. It's run a couple races at 1,200. Last out was at 1,400. And I think when you see that increase in distance and you see a horse kind of moving forward like that, you would expect that at some point it's kind of primed to run its race and really run well. And so, I do think it probably is lacking a little bit compared to the 2 I like in here, but it's by no means way off. So if it continues to improve, it can run a race I think can win. And so, because of those reasons, I think I'll use that one as well. So the 3 and the 8 were kind of my A's, and then the 9 Sky Trust will be my B in the sequence here. But not a ton of confidence, I guess, in those plays overall.
Yeah, I do have one B, and I realize I didn't mark it down till right now. But this 6, Call Me Supreme, first time runner here in Hong Kong. But it is a Justify horse, which has been a very, very good turf sire to start. Because apparently if you win the Triple Crown, you are a turf sire.
Yeah, you're a turf sprinter. Those always win the Triple Crown.
But like Justify, obviously continuing on the Scat Daddy line, who was a very prolific turf sire. But the trials have been decent. He's got one placing, I believe, in 4 trials. But what I like is Hugh Bowman's aboard for a trainer that doesn't really win a lot. So I kind of feel like this is a well meant horse here, first time out. And you kind of look at the rest of the field, and I don't know. There's not a lot to be like. There's not a lot to be like worried about. Maybe a first time starter kind of coming into this. Like,
Yeah.
I think he kind of does fit in with what else is running in this race. So I think this is a place where you can take a shot with this first time starter. Obviously, maybe you look at the price and see what you get. I do think that the 2 is going to be a little bit better, but I thought the 6 was at least worth a look at a price. Let's move on here. Race 10. Another 7 furlong race, 1,400 meters. We're going up a class, so we got Class 3 racing here. And this was another race that I just looked at it, and I'm like, these are some bad horses. Like, well, I don't know if bad horses is the right word, but these are just horses that don't really like to win. You're trying to figure out. I don't know. You just have a lot of horses here who are maybe a little bit off form, who haven't won in a bit, and I once again I'm trying to find like who's going to lead in this race, and it's just tough. I mean, the 9 maybe he's going to go to the lead, but he's out in the 10 post. The 10, maybe the 10's your leader here. He's drawn at least inside. He's in the 3 post here, but this is just kind of another race that's a little bit devoid of speed. And I think the one Amazing Victory has got some really really nice races that fit in with the rest of this group, and I think he's kind of in a tough spot here where he's stuck at this high weight. And I feel like I think he's kind of had a bit of a hard time, I think, getting out of this high weight. If you kind of look at the last 5 starts, he just kind of keeps on finishing a length and a quarter back, and running his race. But maybe this field is bad enough that race is good enough to win here. He's pretty consistent, I think. And I believe looking on Speed Pro, I thought he definitely has just like the fastest races out of anybody here. So I'm going to put him on top. Looking at the last couple races, you've actually gotten a decent, a square price on him. So maybe you get the same here, even though Hugh Bowman stays aboard. Gets a great draw. He's drawn in the 2 post. Last time he was drawn in the 14 post. But he's also had good draws and not one. So it's not like the draw is kind of what's been holding him back. So I have him as my A, as my top pick in here. But I do have 2 other horses that I kind of like. I'm guessing we're going to get better prices on these 2, but, we'll see. The 12, My Flying Angel, I'm taking a little bit of a Matt Carlson angle here. I see a horse with a great draw with a low weight. And a semi-competent jock in Alexi Bedell. And this is a lightly raced horse, and he's actually dropping some weight from his last start, even though he finished 6th there. So he gets a good draw, and he's been drawn okay the last 2 times, but I think he was pretty well bet in his debut. He was 11-1, which I think for a first time starter is not nothing. And if you kind of look at the notes, it looked like he's had a little bit of trouble the last 2 starts. I haven't looked at the replay, so I don't know how bad they were, but I thought he was a little interesting as kind of a lightly raced horse, getting a better post, stretching out just a little bit, and just a pretty low weight. And then just to his outside, the 13 Arrow Invincible for Mr. Edzeni. And I thought this was one of the horses that maybe could vie for the lead early. He's got a decent draw in the 5 post. And obviously those first two starts were pretty good, finishing second and then winning a race. Both those times he was drawn on the rail, and then he was drawn in the 7 post a little bit further out, and he finished 11th by 5.5. I think he was pulled up, and or he just had some kind of trouble that first time in Class 4. So I think running it back, he was very well bet too. He was 4-1 that last time out. So even at the low weight and first time moving up in class, he was pretty well backed. So maybe kind of throw a line through that, run him back here, and he's got a slightly better post, and I think if he gets a little bit better break, I think he's in here with a shot.
Yeah, for sure. And I actually really like that 13. I think that 13 for me is going to be my top choice for the reasons you kind of stated. And I will say, right, I mean, just to kind of echo what you had said about this, a lot of horses that I don't know if they're off form or if they just didn't like kind of the move up to class three, right? You kind of had a lot of horses that were either trying class three for the first time and kind of hit the resistance there, I'll call it. The 13's a really good example of that, right? It's running down in class four, all of a sudden hits class three and, tries to vie for the lead for whatever reason, right? I guess it was a slower pace for class three, but, probably about what the 13's been running and just, kind of faded out the back. And so you're trying to figure out, okay, is that horse off form? Could it not compete in class three, or was it just an anomaly? Right? Did it kind of hit the bad race, and can it make up for it? I'm hopeful that because of the last race, you get a little bit of a better price, and I'm hopeful that kind of the second out in class three, it shows a little bit more. Right? It can run those races that it ran back down in class four, because those races I think blow away this field. Right? Just based on pure kind of like speed figs alone, that horse should based on those first two efforts, kind of dominate here. But that's easy to say when you're running against lesser, and now you're having to, kind of compete in class three. This is a weak enough race, so I think that horse is shown enough to kind of be my top selection here, for the reasons you stated, right? I think it can sit off. I think it can, kind of be in a couple that may vie for the lead but not want it, and kind of get that stocking trip that it did down in class four, and really, hopefully do pretty well here. So that'll be kind of my main A. I think I also wanted to make the three, Enterprise Attack an A. I think again, lightly raced horse. Obviously, it had a lot of trouble last time from gate 11. Now, granted, it's gate 11 again, so that's not all that promising. But it's been running on some really forward courses, kind of the last out, and it's been making up some okay ground. Hasn't kind of competed for the lead, but anytime you kind of see a horse that is racing on a very forward course, at least making up a few positions, I think it piques my interest a bit. Normally, it kind of, if you have some courses that are running like merry-go-rounds, you are looking for those horses that can kind of suck up and not necessarily even compete for the lead, but kind of show some late foot in a track that would normally benefit, kind of that late foot. That to me usually suggests, hey, if you get a fairer track or a track that is playing kind of, towards closers, those are the horses you want, right? You're kind of running against the bias, and now they're with the bias. That's where you're going to get, some decent prices and some decent scores. And so I think there's enough there with that three, especially with Teton aboard, to run well here. Obviously, I think the extra distance, the extra 200 meters will definitely help that. It won't be so far back. And I think also, it's kind of shown enough make up that late ground where I think the extra 200 really will help. So I'll also use that, I think, as an A in the sequence. And then as my B, I did like the 11 Only You. I think it's very similar to the 13 in Air Invincible in that it tried class three for the first time and, again, kind of showed nothing, right? So, yeah, I just don't know, but it's been up in class three. It kind of bumped down to class four. It obviously got a win in class four because it was racing against easier. Um, but obviously had a horrific draw last time, so I think that was excusable. And, again, I think that race two back does fit here. So, again, that race, I think the two back race was a little less appealing than kind of what the three or the 13 have run because they've been running really against those tracks. And that win in February for Only You was pretty much with the track, right? It was favoring closers and it closed really well. But again, I think if it's one of those things where, hey, second up back in class three, if it can show what it did 2 races back, then it's competitive enough and could win here. So I'll use that as a B as well. And hopefully the pace sets up enough for some of these closers or for Aaron Invincible to close off in this race. And if it gets wired, so be it.
Yeah, yeah, it's tough. I believe Speed Pro. Let me see if I can. I always have a hard time on these PPs because like finding the. Oh, there we go. Was this race 10? Yeah, they have it as good to slow. They think the 8 Oriental Smoke might be the leader here, and I looked at him, but yeah, I kind of thought that further out draw might be a little tough for him. And like last time, I don't know, it just didn't. He got to the lead and he was kind of like on the rail, and he didn't really run on that well. So I was kind of not really into him. And I mean, the time he did win, sitting up close, was Zach aboard and down in class. So gets the bug this time. I kind of wasn't interested.
Yeah, I thought the 1400 races just weren't good enough. And look, I love betting Ellis Wong here because I always see that weight and I'm like, oh, he's going to send. It's going to be awesome. He's going to wire this field, and it just never works out. So I thought that horse was a toss for the same reasons, right? Just the efforts at 1400 have not been there at all. I think that's more of a 1200 horse. So.
Let's go race 11. We got a couple of horses here that we've talked about before, and a couple of horses that I think we've even maybe given out to win. So race 11, we're going to be going a 1-turn mile here. So Matt, I'll let you go first. Where did you land here in this closing leg?
Yeah, right on cue. As I just said, I hate overbetting Ellis Wong. I'm going to go. That was my kind of my lone A here in Flagship Warrior, and bet Ellis Wong. So there you go. Schizophrenic handicapping again. Well, I love it. Look, I think the races at 1600 really do fit. It was running at the full mile. Those races look great. Cut back to 7 furlongs or 1400 for whatever reason. The 1-2 back looked okay, right? It obviously closed off into a pretty forward course, and managed to get third. And then the last race, right? I mean, same sort of thing, right? I mean, it was out in the 14 post and closed off incredibly well. Now, I think from a pure, speed figure standpoint, that race doesn't look that impressive, but it obviously had a huge excuse, right? If you're running last and able to close off in a course that's not playing towards that, especially with Ellis Wong up, that's a huge race. I think that horse has a ton of talent. And even though it's never kind of had a win at this distance, I think those races have looked better than anyone else in this field, and so I'm willing to kind of make that my lone A here. I'm really willing to lean into this horse and hopefully, catch a score there. Otherwise, I thought this race was tricky too for a couple reasons. I think the jockey moves I think were what confused me the most. Zach had a lot of choices in here. He's been on I think 2 or 3 of these horses last out. And I'm kind of surprised where he ended up on the 9 in Sunstrider. Enough where I think I'm going to use it as a B just because I don't think just purely on that horse's form or talent it fits here at all. At least those first 2 races I don't think showed enough. But if you're coming from Luke Ferraris and Blake Shin and now all of a sudden getting Zach Purton up, there must be a reason that he's moving to this horse, right? They must think highly of it. And I always hate doing that because I think, if I see it, everyone else sees it. And that horse may have nothing in the tank and really not have any ability. But I've also been wrong on that before, right? I tend to go to sleep and say, it's going to be overbet. I'm not going to use it. And then lo and behold,
where'd all my money go?
Yeah, and it's right, and the horse goes off 8-1, and you're like, what the hell am I doing? Why didn't I just play that horse that I, was, thought about and said, oh, Zach's up, that's neat, So I'm going to use it as a B here. Again, there's nothing data wise to back that up other than the fact that Zach is coming up on a horse that, is lightly raced. So hey, maybe it can show something. And then I'm going to do it again. I'm going to go back to Bieto. I think that
Oh
horse
goodness.
has to run a race at some point. It has to show something here. Those back races are too good. I don't know what happened. And again, maybe this horse just can't compete in Class 3. Maybe it's just not good enough. But hey, it's getting Abdullah up. Maybe Zach hopping off is just what it needs. It needs a new face on its back. I don't know. I hate to do it. It really makes no sense why I'm going to do it, but I just can't. It's one of those horses I can't miss. It's that it's that stable horse that's been in your stable forever, and you're like, it's gonna win. It's gotta win at some point. So I'm gonna use Bieto. I think you get a price because, again, those races haven't looked too bad, right? It's shown some ability to close. It hasn't missed the board in the last two, right? It's hit the board 3 out of those last 4. So as much as we say, hey, those efforts have looked bad, they really haven't been that bad. And if you can get a price on a horse that hasn't looked that bad, because people are kind of fed up with it being a short price that's not winning, there's your time to take advantage, right? So I think I'm going to use it again one more time, and when it runs again in another 2 weeks, I'll use it again, and we'll keep talking about it until we don't do this podcast anymore, probably. But
Goodness.
so
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, I landed on the lone A here. Apparently, the 8 loyal Bobo here. Um, you know, I this was a funny race because I did see a bunch of horses like Beato, like
Fran
the
Tank.
Fran Tank, right? Who I was all over, and obviously Fran Tank once again is using the bug at a much higher, at a bit of a higher weight here, but I think he's up against it this time in the 14 post. I think he's run really well when he's gotten a good draw, and when he's outside, I think he's just not the same horse. So I'm gonna kind of shy away from the high weight at the bad post there. So I kind of land on the other leader who's got a slightly better draw, the 8 loyal Bobo here, coming up in class, and has won 2 in a row at a 124, then at 135. He's coming back here at 124, gets a jock who he won with 2 back. And he's on the stretch out here, so I think that maybe he's even a little bit faster than the one Fran Tank here. So I thought he might be your speed of the speed, and he's got the inside draw on the other speed horse, the other true leader here. So I thought he made a ton of sense in this spot. I think if I were to have a B, it would probably be the 13 winning data. And this is, kind of going back to something we've talked about before. We've talked about in this stream. You got a low weight with a good draw, and I think he's a little interesting here. And I think if you kind of look at his last race, I think maybe people are going to back off a little bit from him because Fran Tank still wired that race. I just think that Fran Tank's going to have a little bit harder of a time. And I think winning data is just going to have an easier. He's going to get a good trip again, like he did last time. And I think maybe with the speed horses having to be drawn outside, having a little bit tougher of a time, a little bit tougher of a trip, maybe that's going to be enough to put this horse over the edge here. And I just think you're going to get a little bit better of a price. I think you're probably going to get closer to 7, 8 to 1 on this one versus the 4 to 4.2 that you got last time when he went off favored. So, I mean, you look at the last 5 races. I mean, the horse has basically not done anything wrong, right? He won 3 of them. He's finished second in another, and his first time moving up in class, he finished 4th, and he went off as the favorite. And he just got wired on the forward track. So I think that he's in here with a shot. So I'll go with the winning data as a B, and I will go with my top pick, the 8 loyal Bobo here. Anything else you want to talk about on this card?
I haven't had much of a chance to look. I've been my celebrate my daughter's second birthday tomorrow. So we, been unfortunately cleaning all day and waiting for family to come over and drink part of the house. So yeah, pay. But so it'll be a struggle to cap the end of the night. We'll see how those picks go. But no, I haven't had much of a chance to look, unfortunately. So
You say it's going to be a struggle, and then at some point tomorrow, I guarantee there's going to be a picture of you holding a beer with a bunch of kids playing in the background blurred out, and you're going to be laughing at everybody who's playing Keeneland. Kind of like how I ended up playing Keeneland all day today. And what was the longest price? Like $8 or something? I don't know.
if that, it's been chalk. So if you love chalk, play Keeneland.
Keeneland, I swear, man, I'm always super excited to play Keeneland. And then Keeneland happens, and I'm like, why was I excited for this? I don't understand.
Farm track.
Farm track, exactly. That's going to do it for us here on You've Got to Be Sha Tin Me. Obviously, Matt will have his stuff up, maybe. At Slow and Steadied on Twitter. I will be at Cherry Drank, at wrong_lead on thewronglead.com. Hit like, hit subscribe, sign up for AM Wager. We'll catch you guys later. Good luck.
Good luck, everybody.